You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level. Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome. You are watching USA Global TV, and our show today is A Better You. Lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. I'm your host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I have hand-chosen people from around the world to be on my team and present lessons in 15-minute segments so that it's bite-sized learning for all. They will present lessons to help us be better personally and or professionally. And today we have two experts with us. Let's bring them out. We have Mr. Red O'Loughlin and Mr. Hiett Ives. Hello, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Hello there.
Nice to see both of you. We were talking backstage about how we have people from all over the world, and yet today we have two gentlemen who live very close to each other. How far away are you, Red, from Hiett?
Less than 10 miles.
I love it.
He's been to my house. I've been to his house.
Oh, that's nice. It's nice. And in honor of our team members who are across the pond, I've decided to go without buttoning my cuffs. I noticed that's kind of a British thing.
Well, we never would have seen your hand, and you never would have had to tell us.
Oh, I just love it. So I just want to start with you sharing a little bit about yourselves. I work with you both on a regular basis, and you're both superstars as far as I'm concerned. Super people, beautiful hearts, and aside from all of your accomplishments and all your talents, you're both really wonderful to me and always going above and beyond to help me out and give suggestions and feedback and volunteer to do things. So my thanks to both of you. I really appreciate you.
It's a pleasure working with you. And I got to thank Red, because I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for Red.
That's true. And I wouldn't know you or Red if it weren't for Diane Floyd Bain, and I wouldn't know Diane if it weren't for Zane Carson Carruth. And I think that's where it stops. So before we begin and each of you present a little bit about yourselves, I'd love to hear from you, for people out there watching, what is the value that you get by presenting? Because you have to put a lot of work into it, right? Even though you are experts and you have all this incredible knowledge inside, you still have to be able to deliver a lesson in a short amount of time. So you have to prepare, and you're doing this because you want to help other people. So what other value is there for you, Red?
Well, I tell people, if you're a writer, you got to write. And same thing, if you're a speaker, you need to speak. And if you don't have that opportunity, it's like anything else that doesn't get used very often. It has a tendency to just get less and less effective in what you're doing. And so having the ability to speak, especially to a live audience, adds that extra dimension. It makes us a little better because it's what we have our passion in doing. And being on a show that has almost, almost 2 million people, I think the last time we talked, that just ramps up everything with regard to us, our businesses, and what we have with the audience.
Wonderful. And while I have you spotlighted, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? We know that you're an incredible book coach, because you helped me get my book to #1 within 2 weeks, I think. And thanks to Hiett for helping edit that. But what else do you do? You're so accomplished. You've got a very long history of success.
As I mentioned, I'm a writer. I have not missed a day of writing and publishing since January 1st of last year. That's over 550 days in a row. I write on health and wellness. My niche is longevity. I research what goes on in the human body at the cellular level. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, and you'll always treat a symptom. You got to get to the cause of a problem. So that's what I research. That's what I write about. That's what I speak about. I'll be speaking about that today. When I talk about diabetes, I'll get into the cause and those kinds of things. As a publisher, I primarily deal with brand new authors. I have a unique perspective on that. I'm an independent publisher. I take the finished product that an author has, I make it formatted properly, stick it out there on Amazon and Kindle, and not turn everything over to them. They are the publisher. They are everything. All I do is the middleman to get them there. Those are the primary things that I concentrate on nowadays.
Well, Fred, one more question while you're there. How is it working in general with new authors? Because I guess there's a lot of questions and a lot of back and forth that you have to deal with, right?
Well, I got into this business because of Toastmasters. I made a presentation one day at a group, and I said, it really increases the credibility of the speaker if they're introduced as a published author, especially if they're speaking in the same field as they write and speak in. And less than a year, about a year later, one of the guys in the audience tracked me down and says, hey, I wrote a book, but I can't get it published. Literally 3 weeks later, he had it in his hands. That was the beginning of my publishing, because I'd done my own books, but I never really thought about doing other ones. And then every person, literally, including Hiett, was a first-time author. I've had very few people come to me, oh, I already have 3 books published. I have a couple of those that we're in negotiations with right now, because part of the problem is they already published through somebody. They have to get a release. But generally speaking, if you're a brand new author, it's pretty easy to get your book onto Amazon or Kindle, because there's no other conflicts in the background. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to actually create the book, but in reality, once the book is done, you're happy with it. Everybody around you is happy with it. I take the finished product and I do the magic and make it happen.
All right, Mr. Magician, thank you very much. It's great working with you, as we're now on the second and third book at the same time, Behind the Mask and Behind the Tattoo. So
that is
thank
correct.
you. Thank you. Mr. Hiett Ives, we had the pleasure of working together yesterday on this program, so thank you for coming back. And if you would share, what is the value that you get by being on this platform, and then we'll talk a little bit about your background.
Well, it requires you to focus and get more focus. And in doing these 15-minute segments, I have found myself getting more and more laser focused on a particular issue, a particular topic. In fact, what you did yesterday, you asked to get less technical on what I was talking about. You also suggested that I read a chapter out of my book, or read something out of my book. Well, I went to it and realized there's a whole area that we haven't talked about at all, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I agree with Red. When you practice it on a regular basis, it comes a whole lot easier. The first 2 or 3 of these 15-minute segments that I've put together for you took me, several hours to put together. The segment that we're going to look at today took me about an hour total to put together. So practice makes for ease, and it makes for better professionalism.
Absolutely. And you do have another publication there of yours, don't you?
Oh, if you have to, yes. Thank you. And
Yes.
These are both courtesy Red O'Loughlin. This was my first That Ain't Not Right, The Use and Abuse of the English Language. And there will be volume 2 of this, hopefully this calendar year.
And so I'd love for you to share with us, Hiett, your passions about the English language and grammar. And by the way, you've presented many lessons on some of the words that we use on a regular basis that come from other languages and what those words mean. So you're passionate about that as well as trade shows and events.
Yes, ma'am. My father was career military. We spent 4 years in the UK, and he put me in a Jesuit boarding school. I was there 7th, 8th grade, freshman year of high school. As a 7th grader, I was in a school that had an annual essay contest. Everybody in the school had to enter it. At the end of the year, a 8th grader always won it, except the year that I was there. And I won it as a 7th grader. And a few years later, I said, if the British Jesuits recognize my writing ability, perhaps I ought to hone it. So I have done that and thoroughly enjoy working with the English language. And I've studied it and have fun with it. And that's one of those, please don't throw me in the briar patch unintended things.
That's great. And you're going to be presenting your third or part 3, I guess, on trade shows. Why is that important to you?
Well, live trade shows have been dormant for 18 months. They are coming back into vogue. In fact, I'm taking a client to a live show here in Houston a week from Monday. And excuse me, the skills and technique that you need to have at live trade shows have been lost a little bit. So I am now bringing them back to people that know the value of trade shows. In fact, we're going to look at the how influential is the audience that you're speaking to in today's session.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Hiett. I appreciate that. We are going to take a quick commercial break. And before we do, I would love for Mr. Hiett Ives to tee up this video that we're going to be watching about some incredible horses. Hiett?
If any of you have watched British royalty and British ceremonies with horses that are regaled in their finery, this video you're going to see is those precision horses having fun.
All right, thank you. Let's take a look and then stay with us here on USA Global TV. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Wow, wasn't that special? Welcome back to USA Global TV, and you're watching A Better You with two of our expert presenters, Red O'Loughlin and Hiett Ives. So guys, what did you think of that?
It was very endearing. I love the kiss at the end. I just almost, it didn't make me come to tears, but it just, one of those associations, an animal and a human, and just the love bond between them. And it just really showed good bonding. It just kind of overwhelmed me a little bit.
Aw,
I like
thanks.
that they're out in the middle of nowhere. Essentially, they're no guidelines, but they get into perfect formation. They get into the V. They get into 2 by 2 by 2, and that circle inside a circle. I mean, their expertise comes through even when they're having fun.
And I'm told that Holcomb Beach is very famous, and there have been a number of films that have been produced there. So there it is, another fun fact. All right, guys. So I understand there was a coin toss, and Mr. Hiett Ives won the toss. And you guys, you're still talking, which I think is great. So
He just told me it was me, and I said, yes, sir.
all right, perfect. Are you ready to go, Hiett?
Yes, ma'am. Give
Okay,
me my
would you
15
like the
minutes on the
timer?
clock, please. Yeah.
Okay, sure will. All right, Red and I are leaving. We'll wishing.
Bye. Okay. We have been looking. All right. Wait for the clock. There we go. We have been looking over the past few days at trade shows, and we've looked at it from the 30,000 foot level, what to do before, during, and after. And then yesterday, we looked at 15,000 foot level of what to do before. And Dr. Jacalyn asked me to read a chapter out of my book, and I went back and saw that something we haven't looked at yet is the influence of the audience that you're speaking to. So this is a 15,000 foot, maybe 10,000 foot level on that. And I'm going to give you some statistics relative to audiences and let you see just how important they are. So with that, we're going to look at who the audience is or who they are, their reason for coming to the show, and what you can give them. So who are they? At any given business-to-business trade show event, now, any business-to-business trade shows are ones where it is not business to consumer. It is business to business. The products and services are things you're not ever going to find in a store. In the oil patch, a business to business show, in the oil industry, a business to business show is where the equipment that the oil companies use to drill and produce the oil and ancillary products is represented and sold. This is not the cat shows, the home and garden shows. Those are business to consumer, B2C. So we're talking strictly B2B shows, business to business shows. 64% of the attendees are or delegates are unlikely to be your company's customers. I'm going to make one other note here. Attendees and delegates. You've all been, I'm sure, or many of you have been to a Chamber of Commerce or citywide show that is business oriented, and anybody is allowed to come. Those are attendees. When you have a trade show like the one I'm going to a week from Monday, the Human Resource Symposium, the Human Resource Society of Houston, which is very large, is having a 2 or 3 day program specifically on products and services relative to human resource. So I refer to the attendees at a show like that as delegates. And we're going to be referring to delegates as we go through this. You have a golden opportunity, a golden prospecting opportunity in that, one, a whole lot of the delegates do not know you. And by the same token, you are wanting to target a specific element of that audience, not the whole audience, just a specific element. So you have to prep yourself and present yourself to get them. Why are they coming? What are the reasons for these people coming to this show? Well, the delegates to a B2B event, 60% value seeing a large number of product and service providers. That's what business-to-business trade shows are all about, allowing the delegates to see a large number of products and service providers. 51% of those delegates value the face-to-face meetings with these product and service providers, and 47% value the opportunity to meet and interface with a wide variety of industry players. So you've got a audience that is hungry for information, and you have to be very sure that you are providing the most appropriate information to the audience you're talking to at a particular show. B2B event delegates are influential. 75% of event delegates say that attending an industry trade show or event is influential in helping them decide which products or services to buy. You know, the ideal situation for somebody coming to a trade show is to have, I want to buy a pink left-handed widget. And I know that there are 3 widget manufacturers exhibiting at the hall, at the show that I'm going to. So I'm going to be sure to visit all 3 of them. So instead of having to set up appointments and spend a lot of time perhaps traveling and missing calls and stuff, I can go up to the 3 major players, and I may find that there's a couple of minor players at the event as well. And I've got the opportunity to interface with them, to talk to other people that might be using them, find out who their clients are. So a business-to-business trade show, the audience there is multi-dimensional for me, the exhibitor, because of course I can look at my competition as well as try to influence the delegates to buy from me. Also, 80+% of the event delegates are authorized to purchase or are major influencers in purchasing exhibit products and services. And here's a key thing. We've all been with companies and organizations where the vice president of marketing might sign the contract, but if it's in the R&D area, he is going to rely on the input from the head of R&D. In fact, if the head of R&D comes and says, we need this product, this service at this price, the VP is going to sign off on it. He's not going to ask for anything more because he trusts his key influencers. So you need to realize that when you are talking to somebody at a major prospect, excuse me, you may not talk to the vice president who will sign the check, but if you're talking to the head of a department that has his ear, you're basically got the sale. From whom are they likely to purchase? These delegates that are walking the hall, whom are they likely to purchase products or services from? Well, 75% of B2B event delegates are more likely to consider purchasing from exhibitors with whom they visit at the event. Duh. Then this is why it's so important for you as an exhibitor to invite them into your booth. We'll talk about how that's done in another session in depth, but you need to be approaching them and you need to be stopping them and you need to be getting them to qualify themselves to you so that you can visit with them and influence their buying decision. And how do you do that? Well, you've got an event-specific, audience-specific, open-ended question that you ask of every delegate passing your booth, requiring them to qualify or disqualify themselves. Now, that's a whole mouthful. However, it's key that, of course, the open-ended question is a question that cannot be answered with a yes or no. You know, can I show you my widget? Can I show you my left-handed widget? No, I may need left-handed widgets, but you asked me that way, and it's no. But how do you use left-handed widgets in your operation? When was the last time you used a left-handed widget? Who in your company is responsible for left-handed widgets? Those are open-ended questions that require the addressee to say, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, yeah, we do use left-handed widgets, but Sue in the XYZ department is responsible for that. Well, give me her information, I'll get in touch with her. So the open-ended question allows, but it also requires the addressee to either qualify or disqualify themselves. So when are they likely to purchase? At many B2B trade shows and events, up to 85% of the delegates attending intend to make purchases at or soon after the event. Well, hey, if I know I have to buy green left-handed widgets and I'm going to the widget show, well, hey, I'm going to talk to all the widget manufacturers, majors, minors, and then make that decision soon thereafter. So know that, and that's why vertical shows that are disciplined vertical, be it medicine, be it oil and gas, be it electricity, be it whatever, the delegates, the attendees at shows like that are far more focused. And because they're focused, you need to be focused. Be sure your message and your call to action are aimed squarely at your specific target audience. You're not trying to influence everybody there. At the HR show, you may only want to be talking to HR people in the medical realm. So your open-ended question is something like, in your hospital, who is responsible for the HR function? You qualify it. I don't want to talk to any other HR people except medically related HR people or retail oriented. So you set your open-ended question such that they are going to have to qualify or disqualify themselves to your specific what you're looking for. Be sure your event-specific, audience-specific CRM program captures and processes all viable prospects. In yesterday's session, we talked about something you do in advance of the show, and one of those things is to set up a show-specific, audience-specific CRM program. If you know that your product or your service has a 3-month average turnaround from first introducing it to somebody to sell, then you put together a CRM program for that 3 months, starting the day of the show. Actually, it could start before because you could do pre-show advertising. So it's crucially important that you put together a audience-specific, show-specific CRM program that will pay massive benefits. So in conclusion, as we're down to the last 2 minutes, we looked at who the audiences are and delegates are, and we distinguish between audience and delegates, and where you can be putting yourself in front of delegates is where you want to be. What they're looking for at the event, what their level of influence is, and how to effectively serve their needs. You get all of those things right, and your ROI from any show is going to be absolutely massive. And remember the old 80-20 rule, it applies at trade shows. 80% of trade show leads are not followed up on. Conversely, only 20% of the trade show leads are followed up on, and that's where that CRM program can keep you in touch with all of the prospects for the amount of time that is necessary to make the sale. All right, you can get even more information on this wonderful topic of doing trade shows by purchasing my book, 88 Successful Event Strategies, from Amazon, a #1 bestseller. Thank you, Red. And finally, you can join my That Ain't Not Right Use and Abuse of the English Language weekly email team. Go to my website and sign up for that. And with that and 30 seconds left, I return control to Dr. Jacalyn. All yours, ma'am.
Bravo, bravo. I have one question, which is, what is a left-handed widget? Dee.
It's something you use when you don't use a right-handed widget.
Okay. All right, there we have our answer. Nice job. Lots of great information. Red, comments that you have for Hiett?
Simply, yeah, I've known Hiett for a number of years. We're both in various Toastmaster groups. He's a professional speaker. You can tell by the pace, the transitions, the organization, the inflections. He added a lot of clarity at the very beginning, so we knew exactly where he was going. It was B2B. He made sure we knew exactly what an attendee and a delegate was. A lot of presentations, they tell you how to do things or what to do things. What I really loved about his presentation today was he went into the why, the mindset, aligned the person there with the audience so that there's a congruency, that they're lined up. He offers a unique perspective that a lot of people don't have, because they don't have the professional perspective of being able to go around to a lot of different industries, a lot of different companies, and being able to see where is that value not being really exhibited. And so from that, he talks about the open-ended questions, but he really shares insider knowledge of the professional that he is with regard to, hey, you have ROI, you want to increase it? Yeah, come talk to me, because I have been there. I know what's going on. It's been, 40 years at least in that business, I believe, Hiett.
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I got out of his presentation today.
All right. Thank you, Red. Thank you very much. Well, as I look at the time clock, we need to move on to Mr. O'Loughlin and your presentation. Are you ready to go?
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right. Hiett and I
As
will be
always.
back. As always, I already knew the answer to that. Okay. Take it away, Red.
Hi there. I'm talking about basically diabetes today. What's new? A lot of us know people with diabetes. We know about type 1 and type 2, but diabetes is the number 7 cause of death in the United States. 20 years ago, it was 1 in 10 people had it. Nowadays, it's 1 in 5. We know about type 1, type 2. Some may even heard the term type 3, but let's talk a little bit about diabetes. It's a blood glucose regulation disease, and it has many causes. Most of the time, for type 1, it's autoimmune. Your body's attacking itself. Sometimes it's genetic. It all deals with insulin sensitivity. Sometimes it can be caused by viruses, an endocrine system that's not functioning. Sometimes even toxins can get into the cause of it. Diabetes can cause heart disease, vision loss, kidney disease. I have a couple friends over the years that have lost toes because of it. They weren't able to control it very well. And yes, even death. How do you know what's the symptoms? They seem to vary a little bit, but basically increased thirst, that's very common. Frequent urination, again, very common. Extreme hunger, blurred vision, mood changes. Those are all very common symptoms of diabetes. Let's start out with the type 1 diabetes. That's basically your juvenile diabetes. It's a term used. Autoimmune disease. Our beta cells are destroyed by our own immune system. Most of the time it's found in children, but it's not curable. It's treated with insulin, and people really have to be aware of everything they're doing for the rest of their lives. Now we have another term for type 2 diabetes. It's usually called adult onset. It's not something that kids get, but they can. It's an issue of the insulin is not working the way it should. The insulin resistance is a problem. A lot of times it's associated with obesity. It can be treated with drugs. Even lifestyle changes, losing weight sometimes is enough to make it work. But type 2 is manageable. Type 3 is a new term, and not everybody agrees with it, but Alzheimer's disease is being referred to by many people as type 3 diabetes. It's an insulin-like growth factor dysfunction in the brain that is causing the issue. The inflammation in the brain is destroying the brain cells, and as such, in the memory centers, that destruction of brain cells causes memory loss. A lot of times, type 3 is associated with obesity, hypertension, but type 3 is, again, a controllable to a degree, but controllable as much as Alzheimer's is, which is not that controllable, but get to it early enough and you can have some decent quality of life. However, type 3 little c diabetes is pancreatic diabetes. This is when you have a dysfunction in the pancreas itself. You have two glands in there, endocrine gland that's supposed to send hormones into the bloodstream. There's a disruption of that. The exocrine system is supposed to send hormones into the various ducts. Again, when that dysfunction occurs, it manifests itself as pancreatic diabetes. That should not be confused with chronic pancreatitis or cystic fibrosis, but it's something that is something you should know about, especially if you have issues with your pancreas. Something most people have never heard of is type 4 diabetes. This is not associated with any kind of insulin deficiency or obesity, so it can't be controlled by weight loss. It's age-related, and many of the people who have it are very lean. You'd never suspect that they had a diabetic problem. But the immune system, again, is involved, and it's causing a cell overactivity, and it's called type 4. The type 1.5, between 0.1 and 0.1 and 2. It's also called latent autoimmune diabetes in adults. And a lot of the symptoms are similar between type 1 or type 2. A lot of times it's actually misdiagnosed as a type 2. Most of the time, people can lead a fairly healthy life in between. But not taking care of it can lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. Where you don't have enough insulin in the system to do the job it's supposed to be done. You have excess ketones. But the real gist of what I wanted to get to today is, what is the research out there? We know beta cells are what respond to the glucose in our body, and so the insulin's produced. Well, when you have type 1 diabetes, the beta cells are destroyed by our autoimmune system. Type 2 diabetes, because of the insulin resistance, the beta cells are degraded and they're not functioning as they should fully. In other words, you have to maybe take some supplemental insulin or take some other things. When your pancreas secretes insulin from the beta cells, at the same time it's producing glucagon from the alpha cells in there. So when the beta cells are weakened or destroyed, there's no replacements for them. However, the autoimmune system does not affect the glucagon, the alpha cells there. But what scientists have found, and this is very, very interesting, is that when they inject people that have diabetes, both 1 and 2, with monoclonal antibodies, the alpha cells are actually converted into beta cells. And so now all of a sudden your pancreas has a resupply. The cavalry's coming over the mountain with more beta cells. Now your body has the beta cells to respond. So from type 2 diabetics, now you have that extra amount of insulin that's required, that's being produced in the pancreas. And for type 1 diabetics, you have a replacement for those beta cells that were killed by the autoimmune system. So now on the autoimmune system, you have to keep replenishing those monoclonal antibodies. But on the other ones, generally speaking, it may be a once a week, once every 2 weeks. But it's a whole lot easier to control diabetes from that perspective than not. A couple, 3 or 4 things on the outside. I remember listening to a program one night, and the guy was talking about, back in the 20s and 30s, we didn't really have problems with gestational diabetes. He says we knew back then that the fetus was basically taking all of the chromium from the mother, which resulted in gestational diabetes. So we treated them with chromium and everything went away. And World War II happened and everybody forgot everything they learned before that. And so now you have gestational diabetes and they put you in bed for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. But the issue of chromium is never addressed. I've mentioned it to a few people. They talk to their doctors about it. They went on a chromium substitute. Their insulin was cut in half. I said, well, have you talked about increasing your chromium? No, I'm happy with that. So it's one of those things. If you have diabetes, talk to your doctor about chromium. It is something that you can consider, something you can monitor. One of my favorite professors in the field of longevity is Dr. Walter Longo from the University of Southern California. I follow his fasting advice. I fast 72 hours every month. Most of the time it's over 100. But it rebuilds the immune system from scratch. They found that if you do a 5-day fast, it actually rebuilds the beta cells in the pancreas. And it works with both type 1 and type 2 in animals. A lot of the animal work there is showing that they can do that. Now, a lot of people can't really fast for 5 days. So what they have is called a fasting mimicking diet. And this mimicking diet, you eat food, but the body doesn't think it's eating food. And so for 5 days, your body thinks it's in fasting, but in reality, it's not. But that's something that if you can't fast, it might be an option to look at. Now, what they found was when they do these 3-day fasts and they treat cancer patients, the chemo or the fast actually work fairly well equally together. Combine the two together and it's exponential growth. It's really synergistic. And so again, if you're in a situation, you're getting ready to go to some kind of a chemo or whatever therapy, you might want to talk to your doctor about Dr. Walter Longo's program where they combine a 3-day fast. And this fast is basically water only, no food, and see how that might work, because there is a lot of literature out there that your oncologist can check on. I think that's close to my time. I didn't check it at the beginning to find out, but I'm going to go ahead and call it quits.
Dr. O'Laughlin. Woo, some of those terms, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm glad that I'm not doing that presentation. I couldn't even say half of them. That was really intriguing. I always love hearing about the fasting because I know from meeting you how important it is. And I've tried it a few times and then I get really hungry and I have to eat.
A lot of times that is just strictly a dehydration, and just by taking in extra fluids, that hunger pang is essentially addressed by the fluids. So it's not, and again, it's more psychological. We expect to have lunch at a certain time. We expect to have breakfast at a certain time. Our bodies are conditioned, programmed to have food. And when we don't, it's not the hunger, it's the brain saying, I'm missing something, as opposed to true hunger that the body may be feeling from not eating for a couple of days.
Hiett?
Since I have been working with Red, I do a modified fast. I do a daily fast of 18 hours. I eat lunch and dinner. I eat dinner in the 5 to 6 o'clock range, and then I don't eat lunch until noon the next day. So I do an 18-hour fast every day. And I've been doing it so long that now I go to morning events that have breakfasts. I won't eat the breakfast. I'll just pass it. And so it's and it is allowed me to keep a consistent body weight that I also manage with exercise and so on. But it's when I go off of it, I notice it has an effect. I'm getting ready to do the 72-hour one. That's my next step.
Wow, congratulations. That's very exciting. Now, what happens when your body starts shaking in that initial phase when you don't have the food? How do you get past that? You just keep drinking water?
I've never had shakes. I don't know. I spend about 2 days mentally preparing myself. And if I do that, I generally don't have a problem. If I just go into it ad hoc, willy-nilly, it's a little bit more difficult. But when I tell my wife, okay, on Monday I'm doing a 72-hour fast. And then I get to Monday, it goes as planned. I get to Wednesday, I said, yeah, I feel pretty good. Maybe go to Thursday, maybe go to Friday, maybe go to Saturday. I'll do 100, 120, 150 hours. And I don't have a problem. I really don't. It's kind of a feeling. I don't need the food. I'm not feeling weak or anything. But again, it's more mind control on the front end than it is just starting and trying to do something. That's my experience. But if you're diabetic, you better talk to your doctor first. You do not want to just start something without if you're on any kind of prescription meds, always talk to your doctor before you make a major change. And a 72-hour fast is a major change. So if you can't do 72, do like Hiett's doing, 15, 18 hours a day, maybe go one day, 24, 30 hours, see how things are. It's something you don't want to just jump into. I've been doing this for several years now, and I find it, 100 hours, just it's a breeze. I don't have any problems whatsoever with it.
Well, fantastic. Great presentations by both of you. I really thank you for showing up and showing up big with two topics that are really important. So it's time for us to end our show because we have another one coming up right after this. I'm going to spotlight you and run your banner. Red, what is the best way to reach you and who should reach out to you?
The best way to reach me is my website. I have links in there, but my email, red, like the color, R-E-D, .O'Laughlin, that's OLAUGHLIN, OLAUGHLIN, redO'Laughlin.com, .com is my website, but red.O'Laughlin@gmail.com is my email address. But seriously, call me, 281-687-1188. And if you're thinking about being an author, if you need credibility for your new business, if you just want to write a memoir, whatever it may happen to be, I have answers. Be more than happy to share what I know about it, and we can just talk, have a good conversation. And if it book gets written, great. I may be able to help you get it published. If not, at least I get your questions answered, if nothing else. So, Red O'Laughlin, thank you so very much, Dr. Jacalyn. I really appreciate the opportunity today.
Thank you, Red. Oh, sorry. Ooh, what did I do there? Okay, I spotlighted me. Who's producing this show anyway? Okay, sorry about that, Red. Thank you. All right, Hiett, I'm going to spotlight you. What's the best way for people to contact you, and who should reach out to you?
Hiett@HiettIves.com. It's Hiett, I before E except after C. Hiett@HiettIves.com. 832-372-6900. That's 832-372-6900. When you want your written material, be it website copy, be it collateral material, be it social networking copy, y'all come and see me to put it in present tense, second person call to action. And for those of you that are doing trade shows and want to do trade shows, want to do better trade shows, I have a trade show leads guaranteed policy on that, and I am more than happy to visit with you to look at what your program looks like now and how you can make it better. So whether it's writing or trade shows, y'all come and see me, Hiett@HiettIves.com, 832-372-6900.
Thank you, Hiett. It's lovely seeing both of you. I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I'm going to welcome Pet Psychic Amina. So that's all we have for now, for folks. And this was our 85th A Better You. So that's something worth celebrating. All right. Talk to you all later. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.